These two neighbors represent opposite ends of the village economy. Gangamma manages a massive estate supported by 8 healthy buffaloes, while Rangamma maintains a modest operation with a herd of exactly 2. The relationship turns litigious when Rangamma files a formal complaint. She claims that despite Gangamma's wealth, the woman borrowed a significant measure of ghee and now flatly refuses to acknowledge the debt. Gangamma's defense is rooted in numbers. Her 8 buffaloes generate a massive volume of dairy daily, while Rangamma's 2 animals produce only a tiny fraction of that amount. She argues it's mathematically illogical for a major producer to seek a loan from a micro-producer. The courtroom audience immediately sides with the wealthy neighbor. To the public, the surface-level arithmetic makes Rangamma's accusation look like a desperate fabrication. High revenue figures describe the inflow of assets, but they reveal nothing about the operational habits that actually govern a household. The production data shows abundance on paper, but it doesn't account for how that abundance might be disappearing behind closed doors. Since the income data fails to explain the situation, the judge determines that only a behavioral test can uncover the reality of their personal finances. Judge Mariatta Ramana sets aside the conflicting verbal testimonies. He focuses instead on observing the unconscious physical habits that people find much harder to fake. He interrupts the proceedings to issue a simple command. Both women are to step outside and wash their feet before he delivers a final ruling. To ensure a fair trial, he establishes a strict baseline. Each woman receives 1 identical copper pot filled with the same volume of water. Ramana has effectively moved the trial from the courtroom floor to the muddy ground outside. The test relies on a specific psychological trigger. In a mundane, low-stakes situation, most people stop performing for the court and revert to their natural, everyday logic of resource management. The judge is looking for a correlation. The way a person manages a common resource, like water, reflects how they handle high-value assets, like ghee. Rangamma begins the task with extreme precision. She pours the water in small, calculated increments, using just enough to scrub away the dirt without saturating the ground. Her feet are clean in moments, yet the bottom of her pot still holds a surplus of unused water. Gangamma approaches the task with the same lack of discipline she showed in her defense. She splashes the water in heavy, uncoordinated bursts, letting the majority of it run uselessly into the dust. The splashing quickly turns the area into a mud pit. Rather than refining her technique, she simply demands a second pot, then a third, and finally a 4th. Even after emptying 4 full containers, her feet remain covered in wet earth. Her input has increased, but her results have stalled. Rangamma's data tracker shows a perfect correlation between resource use and result, achieving total efficacy with a partial resource. Gangamma's side shows a systemic failure. Despite draining 4 times the water, her efficacy bar fails to move, illustrating a disconnect between consumption and achievement. When a person has access to a perceived abundance, they often lose the ability to use those resources effectively. This lack of discipline creates a deficit that no amount of income can ever fully fill. Ramana returns to the bench with his verdict. The foot-washing experiment provided the missing data needed to explain the debt. The judge explains that Gangamma's behavior with the water reveals how she handles her dairy production. Even with 8 buffaloes, her habitual wastefulness creates a constant shortage, forcing her to borrow from others to maintain her lifestyle. Rangamma, despite her lower production, maintains a surplus because she applies the same discipline to her ghee that she applied to the water in the pot. Seeing her own inefficiencies exposed so clearly, Gangamma abandons her defense. She admits to the loan and pays Rangamma the full value of the ghee immediately. In Ramana's court, the water in the pot revealed the same truth as the ghee in the debt, that sustainable wealth is built on the discipline of management, not just the volume of production.